Good day, everyone, whatever time zone you're in. I am Marc Cohn and moderator for this panel discussion on the evolving security landscape. Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, arose as enterprises continued to outsource their applications and data to the cloud and was accelerated by the work from home and work from anywhere movement, unexpectedly driven and accelerated by the global pandemic. Over the past 18 months, SD-WAN vendors, sensing a major change, have shifted their focus from delivering networking to security solutions. SD-WAN and SASE have also enabled managed services that provide secure, agile, and cost-effective access to the multi-cloud environment. In today's panel session, our experts will share their unique perspectives on the technology, important use cases, operational changes, and trade-offs associated with cloud-based security. Our panelists represent a broad cross-section of the industry, including a leader of a SD-WAN managed service provider, an open networking champion from one of the world's most prominent communication service providers, a technology executive for a global service leader, and a managing director of an innovative operator that enables other operators to deliver SD-WAN managed services. While this is a pre-recorded session, we encourage you to submit your questions through the event platform. While all of the panelists will not be able to take your questions live, we will respond within days following the session. But before I get started, I invite each of the panelists to offer a brief introduction, starting with Bernard.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I am Bernard Breton. I'm the CEO of Adaptive Networks. Adaptive Networks is an SD-WAN vendor. As pointed out, SD-WAN vendors, including ourselves, are truly looking at SASE and then sort of the convergence of cloud networking and cloud security in order to be able to provide increased agility, increased security, and continue that quest towards simplification of the IT environment. We, Adaptive Networks, we focus on small and medium enterprises. We don't really focus on the large enterprises. And they do present challenges. They do have challenges that are quite different than the large enterprises. Simplicity is extremely important for them, but also cost effectiveness. So I look forward to the conversation today, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Bernard. Beth?
So I'm Beth Cohen, work for Verizon and work in the software-defined networking product development team. Verizon has jumped, let's say, head first maybe, into SD-WAN in that we actually support, at this point, 6 SD-WAN vendors, which across the spectrum from supporting our customers down to mid-market all the way up to the enterprise, and we cover 95% of the SD-WAN market. We also have recently launched our first SASE product a couple months ago called Verizon Advanced SASE, and looking forward to a very interesting conversation.
Thank you, Beth. Divesh.
Hi there. First of all, I'd like to thank Layer 123 to give us an opportunity for sharing our thoughts in this panel. Thank you very much. My name is Divesh Gupta. I'm a VP for Technology and Sales Operations at PCCW Global. And among my responsibilities lie leading of the software automation and business processes for the sales cycle. And I also work on API standardization for both our sell and the buy side. I'm also representing MEF as a co-chair for the Test and Certification Committee. PCCW Global, those of you who don't know, is a global ICT operator. We provide layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 connectivity services all around the globe. And our software-defined suite of services are sold under the brand of Console Connect, where we provide global internet, Ethernet access, and also direct connection to cloud. So Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Divesh. And Marcus.
Thank you, Mark. And it's a really pleasure to be here on that panel. So I'm Marcus Hacke, founder and CTO of Engena. Engena offers a global connectivity as a service, and we deliver a comprehensive set of networking and security services. The platform provides a flexible and scalable, and I think it's special, end-to-end integrated solution, which is fully automated and can be easily managed from a central portal. It's a hybrid networking approach. This means it is not just covering the service overlay, but also includes the connectivity underlay, which means a global backbone, as well as the access links, being public internet or private links. And of course, we are connecting to the global cloud platforms as well. So the Engena service portfolio and the business model is designed to support business customers and enterprise customers, and especially helps them with their journey to the cloud and to the digitized business processes. With our platform, I think customers would be SASE ready. They can really rely on secure connectivity. And as we work with a global partner ecosystem, they're in good hands of that global partners. So I think overall, the terminology or the what is behind SASE is very much implemented with the Engena platform, and I'm very happy to share that insights here on that panel.
All right, Marcus, thank you, and hold that thought. So now we're going to get into our questions, and our first one is addressed to all of our panelists. Gartner projects that the emerging SASE market for securing SD-WAN and other cloud access will exceed $5 billion in US in 2025. And so to commence the discussion, I'd like each of you to share how your organization perceives the SASE opportunity. And Marcus, since you mentioned it, let's start with you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think the whole SASE opportunity starts with what's going on in the market, right? So many customers in all that different industry, they have started changing their IT architecture towards using public cloud platforms for their applications, but also new requirements for people not just working at office sites, but working at home. And we have seen that, and you reflected on that one during the COVID period as well. So there's a lot of new requirements which somehow request simply a very radical update on the way how networks are deployed. The classical castle and moat approach with perimeter security does not secure the network anymore because there is no clear perimeter anymore. Public internet has become an integral part of any networking architecture, which of course comes also with cyber threats and things like that, which needs to be covered. So hybrid networking, private and public, is a very important, I would say, aspect which needs to be considered. Overall, of course, this increases quite significantly the complexity. You also need to consider how you route traffic with a prioritization of applications, best path selections, and so on. So it's a huge set of functionality which you need to consider. On the networking side, which can be covered with SD-WAN, and on the security side, just to protect against the threats and topics like next-gen firewalls, zero trust networking, cloud access security broker, or secure web gateway are topics which needs to become an integral part of a design. So security can't be anymore an afterthought of networking. It needs to be integrated. At the same time, managing that complexity, it requires a simplification, and it needs to have the capability to be flexibly adjusted. This means at the end of the day, it is all about an as-a-service delivery model. Very much needs to be product data driven, product catalog driven. And it needs to be delivered on a true cloud platform because it needs to be scalable and easy and fast to be deployed. And last but not least, I think that is part of the SASE value proposition as well. It needs to be delivered on multiple, I would say, instances, because the edge is an important piece here, because we are still in networking space, so it is about delay times. and we need to avoid tromboning. So to make a long story short, the SASE approach, I think, is covering the latest and very urgent customer requirements, and it integrates the way how we need to think about networking and security, and it needs to be delivered in a truly as-a-service approach on a global scale.
Thank you, Marcus, for that comprehensive summary. I'd like to ask Divesh, and Divesh, why don't you share with us PCCW's perspective? That's the intent of the question, is to really get some idea of what each of your individual organizations are thinking about, how you look at the SASE opportunity. We understand the broader overview, and we're in day 3 of the conference, and there have been a number of sessions, including Beth's keynote on this topic. So I want to just share some insight with our audience. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely. So we are from a service provider's perspective. We at PCCW Global, we offer SD-WAN services. We offer cloud security services as well to a large audience of our goals, enterprise and in the wholesale arena. Now, if you look at, I think I agree with a lot what Marcus mentioned. That the traffic flows for enterprises, they have kind of reversed over time. So there were probably 80% of the traffic used to be within the confines of the network perimeter, if you will, and the rest 20% being on internet. That has reversed totally, and I think because of the emergence of the cloud, now majority, about 80% of the traffic for enterprises is outside of the company's domain. So it could be because of the COVID onslaught, where remote workers are accessing these applications, be it from home office or remote offices, or the migration of the services itself from the confines of a data center or headquarters into cloud. A lot of applications are actually being consumed as a service these days, right? SAP, Salesforce, Dropbox, you name any of these, the web collaboration tools, all of these are being consumed over a cloud. And so what happens is you have users who are not on the network anymore, and you have the applications that they are trying to access also not on the network anymore. And guess what's on the network? The physical hardware, routers, switches, and firewalls. The security parameters residing in the confines of the perimeter where they're not getting applied. So how do you make use of them? Invariably, you would have to hairpin traffic to pass through that security stack within the organization for having a user connect to the applications, the SaaS applications that they want to connect to. But clearly, that is a case where the current setup doesn't work anymore, right? So that's where SASE comes in. And I think we're looking at it from our perspective. A lot of our customers are moving on to public clouds. And I mentioned a brief mention in the introduction that we have our software-defined services around Console Connect. And guess what's happening? What's pushing that is the demand from customers to connect to multiple public clouds, not in just particular central zone, but in different regional zones. So if you have a Google Cloud or a Microsoft Azure Cloud or AWS, we're connecting with them in multiple regions to keep the local traffic local. So if a customer is coming onto our network on a particular region, maybe in Asia, Pacific, or Europe, or US, we'd like them to exit out to the nearest cloud where they're hosting applications through the closest point that is there from ingress to egress. So that is where I think the attributes for our networking coming in. And on the SASE perspective, we would have to apply security policies to make sure that the traffic actually, both in the ingress and the egress of our network, is secure enough. And all of these new world cloud-enabled technologies like zero trust and also cloud security brokers, they're going to be implemented on that in order to be able to provide that unique service, end-to-end service to the customers. So that's our perspective on the SASE services.
All right, well, thank you. And Beth, you mentioned Verizon is jumping head first. So can you share a little more insight what what that really means?
What that really means. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different tack from the previous panelists and talk about, yes, Advanced SASE is our product. We launched it in June. It's a combination of several SD-WAN vendors with several secure web gateway vendors. And it's sort of mix and match. That's our initial offering anyhow. But what's unique is it's a fully managed service that covers both the network and the security from an operational perspective. And what that means, and I encourage people to watch my keynote about this, it really means that the enterprise and of course vendors and operators such as Verizon need to rethink how networks and how security are managed and operationally, because traditionally the NOC, let's say, and the SOC were didn't talk to each other. They had very different functions. They really had very little to do with each other. And SASE, I see, as a mashup of these two functions. And it's critical that, Verizon as a company is, reorganizing around supporting a full end-to-end SASE solution. And the enterprise has to make the changes to be able to accept that at the same time.
That's excellent, Beth, and we will take a look at your keynote. So, and Bernard, how about you? How does Adaptive Networks look at?
So first of all, I agree with what has been said overall, but I'll take quite a different angle, really putting myself in the shoes of my customers, which are the smaller spectrum of customers. So we deal with mid-market and less. And for them, SASE is an opportunity to gain access to real security. It is not a transition from something. It is an opportunity to finally be able to have access to proper security because it is simple enough, it's cost-effective enough, and it is managed and offered as a service. The vast majority of small businesses that we deal with have no firewall, and when they have firewalls, they've been configured 5 years ago by someone that is not in the business anymore, and nobody knows what to do with them, and actually they are more of a security risk than they are a security accretive. Running old firmwares which have their own security constraints. So really, we believe that when it comes to the smaller spectrum of customers, it's very important to have an environment, offer a solution that is fully managed, fully offered as a service, that will deliver that simplification that they can't handle the complexity of the large enterprises that do have those centralized IT organizations. And by the way, I like very much what Verizon is doing there, because that's really going into that direction as well, because I believe that while that's very true for smaller businesses, that's going to become increasingly true for even mid-market and even mid-market plus. But certainly the market that we're in is not the large enterprises. And we believe that we're actually making, our goal is to make security attainable for them. And that we believe that SASE is going to be a very big play. Oh, and by the way, one thing that was said as well, I think is absolutely key, is that identity need to be absolutely at the center of the security play. It's identity first, okay? And then after that, all of the different features and functions that we're going to implement from CASB, from secure web gateways, IDS, IPS, UTM, decrypting, that doesn't matter to them. It needs to be simple policy applied to identities that they actually understand and can track and make sure that the surface of attack always remains tight and under control. So that's our view on the SASE opportunity for the smaller businesses.
Excellent, Bernard. Thank you very much. For our next question, I'm going to shift back to our larger operators, and it's directed to Beth and Divesh. Both Verizon and PCCW Global are among the SD-WAN market leaders, at least according to the recent Vertical Systems Group Global SD-WAN Leaderboard. And since multiple market surveys have revealed that enhancing security is a leading motivation for enterprises to select managed services or managed SD-WAN services in the first place, what I wanted to understand from you is, can you share some of the factors that your organizations considered in moving to a SASE-based cybersecurity architecture? Was it customer demand? Was it an internal push? Was it that the competitive landscape? You know, what really was it that drove Verizon and PCCW to SASE? So Beth, I'm going to start with you, and then Divesh, you can wrap up. And I'd like to ask our panelists to be a little more briefer. We only have a 45-minute window for this session. I know we've taken up a significant amount of time. We'll adjust, but I really need you to be a little more concise, and please do so. We have the stage is set, and now I want to just try to be more, make a good use of our time. So thank you very much for that.
So I will address. So what Verizon was seeing is SD-WAN is frequently being driven by tech refresh. It's not so much security. I know it's sold as a security, but at the end of the day, it's a VPN overlay. But what we were seeing with many of our customers is they were coming to us and saying, yeah, we want to sign up for SD-WAN, but we also want to connect our SD-WAN to our Prismas and our Zscalers and our other secure gateway and other security products at the same time. So they wanted to have an end-to-end solution. And so, we were doing that, not calling it SASE, but that's what we were doing for our customers. And we were also particularly for our mid-market customers, and Bernard, I feel your pain about the mid-market customers. We actually packaged up a product called Cloud Firewall, which basically gives our mid-market customers a firewall that's in a location that we manage and that they use to access their cloud services. And so what when we packaged up our advanced SASE solution, we literally just packaged up what we were already selling to our customers. What services we chose to put into the advanced SASE came out of directly from what our customers were asking for. So that's what, as I said, what earlier is what we added is that end-to-end management, which our customers really need.
Thank you, Beth. That's excellent. Divesh, can you share a window into PCCW Global's thinking?
Yeah, I'd actually build upon what Brandon just mentioned. He mentioned that identity is up and central in the story of SASE, right? So, from our experience, what we see is service providers are providing, and actually we are providing a lot of connectivity services, overlays and underlays including the SD-WAN. And majority of that service is purely networking based. If you look at the security portfolio, we have managed firewall as a service, and we have cloud security, but these are fragments of different things which are all encompassing again within the SASE framework now, right? So I think the end users actually, they're looking at this as an opportunity that they could get all of this services bundled in, the networking and the security, by a single service provider. And that actually helps for smaller enterprises out there. It helps consolidating all of that into one single portfolio. And what we're seeing, the other thing that we found is that because of the effect that most of these applications are moving into cloud, the user maintenance and upkeep was very different for our customers. So, like for example, they had a single sign-on for the resources which are on-prem, but then they had users which were logging on and creating all of their accounts in these cloud services which they had no control of. And these things can be now handled properly under the SASE framework. You can have a zero trust framework, you can have a CASB implemented through your service provider, and it gives you control over those users who are accessing remotely and they're accessing cloud applications. All of that can come under a single portfolio. And one more point I'd like to enforce there is that, if you enforce security policies on your users or enterprise users, that is, without looking at the user experience, what's going to happen is it will impact your productivity, and also you would lose efficiency of the customer, of the people using those, web collaboration services or SAP or whatever ERPs they're using. So there has to be a tight balance of the amount of security policies that you apply and the end user experience. So that is where I see SASE is actually really serving the purpose, that you can make that so simple for the users to use that they would have no option but to use it, because they can't even, in some cases, like, we'll talk maybe later about the zero trust, the end users don't even realize that they're using a secure mechanism to actually get authenticated, and then it's useful for them. They don't have the pressure of remembering 1,000 passwords. It's all done so seamlessly. So I mean, it's a no-brainer, I would say.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm going to move on to our next question. It's directed to Bernard and Marcus. Both Adaptive and Jenna have uniquely addressed the growing market for SD-WAN managed services and in a unique and distinct way. And as the market for SD-WAN managed services continues to grow, which is a big driver for SASE, the competitive landscape has significantly increased. So how can SASE contribute to your individual quest for market leadership in the respective segments that you're addressing? So Bernard, let's start with Adaptive.
Yeah,
how does SASE provide that differentiation?
Yeah. So first of all, the differentiation has to be born out of the customer requirements. They do vary a lot, right? If you think of security as well as cloud security in general, as well as networking, those requirements do vary a lot. If I take an analogy with the cars, there's no such thing as what's the better car. It depends what you want to do with the car. If you want to go fast, you better have a sports car. If you want to go in the mud, you better have a 4x4. And that differentiation is really born out of those requirements from the customers that do vary a lot. As I've said before, the customer that we serve are the smaller customers that have very little appetite for IT complexity. It's not that they just can't deal with it. They don't have the skills. They're outsourcing most of their IT. And because of that, we view SASE as an opportunity for our SD-WAN solution, which is addressing that market, to make security attainable for those customers, which are frankly largely unprotected. They have no cybersecurity strategy. And we do believe that our differentiation is going to make SASE very accessible and security very accessible to them. To give you some examples, I don't know if any of you have recently, just for pleasure, go into a next generation firewall and start to play with the options that you have in there. Okay, it's about 0.11% of the population that can actually deal with that level of complexity, and 0% of the smaller businesses have any idea what those parameters are. So the reality is that they know what they need to do, they know what services they're using, they know who they are. And they know that they need to be protected, and that's about as far as it goes. And what we are doing is using template-based policies, which are designed for specific vertical sectors, along with very strong ZTNA everywhere on the LAN or from home, anywhere. It's always identity-based, and you're going to be challenged if you're changing your PC IP address, if you're moving to a coffee shop, whatever it is. And even if you're behind the LAN, you're going to be challenged if you're making a change, allowing us to really increase the tightness of the surface of attack, because the surface of attack is very small because the perimeter is the cloud. But of course, the endpoint still is a potential risk. So making it very simple and very secure at a price point that is acceptable in a completely managed way, we believe we're going to create the differentiation for our solution, and we're going to really create value for the customers we are serving and we want to continue to serve.
And once again, the complexity theme is coming up. It is the major driver, at least in a lot of the surveys that I see. It's almost at the top of the list. So thank you. So Marcus, how is SASE contributing to and Jenna's already unique selling proposition, and how is it contributing to your market leadership aspirations?
Yeah, I think the other panelists already talked about many topics which are very relevant for the Jenna solution as well. So the time we started developing it, it was in 2016. It was clear that we did it greenfield, and we did it by the understanding what the modern IT architecture would require from a connectivity point of view. Already at that point in time, it was very clear that networking and security couldn't be thought in two different buckets. So even if the SASE terminology was only brought to our attention, I think it was in August 2019 by Gartner, in essence, all the architecture and the capability of the GenApp platform itself included the security and the SD-WAN piece already many years before. So what makes us, I would say, very specific, it's a greenfield approach, and it was designed to deliver this connectivity services in an as-a-service mode with an end-to-end process support from the beginning on, which includes all IT as well as all technology stacks being fully integrated from an end-to-end perspective to more or less ensure a full automation approach. So the key elements of it, it's a very radical abstraction approach to go for the simplification to handle that huge complexity, which comes with a combination of all the features on SD-WAN together with the security. So everything is, for that reason, service catalog driven and is fully modeled by data models. What we put on top of that one is an approach to easy access the different services via portals. And this is consistently across the whole process flows of quoting, ordering, configuration, deployment, and service assurance, all on a consistent stack of data. As already was mentioned, that's very crucial for the successful delivery of this kind of solutions, is it needs to be policy driven. And with that policy driven approach, fully orchestrated across the whole stack, which has two key, I would say, benefits for customers. First of all, it provides a flexibility, not just during the deployment, but especially also during the life cycle and all the changes, because it is just one click away. If you do the change on a portal and you have a fully orchestration, it can be implemented within really minutes on that global scale. But there's another big benefit to it, which has to do with quality. Because if you have designed, modeled it, and done the product, the right product development around it, including all that processes, the quality can increase significantly because you don't have any manual steps anymore into that one, and you can test it properly before you offer it to customers. So the quality of delivery will increase tremendously because any error-prone manual processes will be avoided. I think another one which is very important, it needs to be a global solution because many, or I think nearly all of the customers we're talking about have sales offices, production sites somewhere around the world. And this kind of services needs to be delivered consistently to really fulfill customer requirements, but also to protect their environments. And another one I think I want to highlight, it has to do with the evergreening. This is because the development on the technology side is so fast that it is not a topic which we have seen in the past very often, that you develop it once and it stays rather, I would say, stable. No, it needs to be updated, innovated month by month, and all the new cool features which are developed on the technology side by the technology vendors needs to be made available. I think these are some of the key components, I think, which we can provide with the GenApp platform itself and which has driven the design of our solution.
It's interesting that each of you is representing a different segment of the market. You have different customers geographically dispersed, but you're talking about the same things. It's end-to-end. It's making it simple. Quality is an important driver. And then, of course, being able to offer a ubiquitous solution. So it's really interesting, the similarities, even though there are differences. But I'm going to move on to another topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I think some on the panel as well, and that is openness. So as was the case for the SD-WAN market, if we think back 5 years or even before that, the initial SASE managed services are proprietary. They're sourced from a single vendor. They didn't necessarily consider or intentionally or otherwise that we have to be able to address a larger multi-vendor environment. However, as the market is starting to grow and is starting to gain momentum, what we're seeing is that the first attempts to actually standardize SASE are underway in the MEF. And the MEF is addressing not only the SASE architecture, but the zero trust challenges as well. So as managed security service providers, which is really how the major operators are evolving, and actually all operators are evolving into, certainly on this panel, can you share your thoughts on the role of standardization and open source for SASE? And I'm going to start with Divesh and then move to Beth, because I know from firsthand experience that I work with them in these communities, and then we can move on, because we're a little bit behind where we are, but we're going to make an adjustment to be on time. So Divesh, why don't you get started?
Yeah, let me just respond briefly to that, and I'm appreciative of the time that you're taking here. So first of all, kudos to MEF, because MEF picked up that challenge of standardizing the MEF the SD-WAN services. And you mentioned rightly there, Mark, that there's been so many different versions of SD-WAN. Each vendor has a different version, if you will. How MEF tackled that view, I would just quickly state that they differentiated. They separated the what from the how. So the what actually is what is the actual feature that is deliverable to the enterprises? What are they looking for? What do they get out of the service? And you differentiate it with the how. How was it actually being architected? That is what you need. And so basically the framework for SD-WAN services was set in such a way that we standardized the policies, and we found how these policy maps can be applied at the edge to provide a certain benefit or a feature to the enterprise customers. And so if you have that listed properly, then you could have different vendors, different scenarios, simulate it out and see if you could meet that endpoint, right? So similar objective when you apply to SASE. SASE actually is much more diverse, and probably because there are so many different security vendors, and even the amount of services that are contained in the SASE framework are not limited, right? So it's a greater challenge. But yes, I think the approach is the same at MEF. And quickly, there are over 12 projects, major projects, ongoing in MEF, where we're working on standardizing both the SD-WAN and the SASE services. Just to give you an idea, the SASE service framework white paper that came up last year by MEF, it actually allows for both service providers and enterprises to compare and understand the advantages of various vendor approaches to SASE. Yeah, so, and also it enables them to find if there is an interoperability between different vendor offerings, right? So just very concise. I mean, these are the efforts being done at MEF, but I'm sure that I think out there in the market, even different vendors, they're trying to consolidate to be able to provide meaningful services to end customers. So I'm all for openness and standardizing of these services. It becomes easier for the market to adopt them, easier for the market to interoperate.
Thank you, Divesh, and I would not like to overlook this opportunity to recognize Divesh's efforts as a co-chair of the Test and Certification Committee, a committee near and dear to my organization's well-being in the industry. And thank you for your guidance and leadership. And I think SASE and security are going to be on the horizon. So we will be addressing that soon enough. Beth, I wanted to get your perspective as one who's participating also in extensive standards as well as open source. Can you talk about how you see the role that these industry bodies are going to be playing on guiding and shaping SASE's future?
So that's interesting because I haven't seen a whole lot of standardization in the industry around security. And I think that SASE is going to be driving that more. There's plenty of interoperability efforts. I know Divesh, you mentioned the MEF effort with SD-WAN, but There's also a number of efforts that I've been working on around edge and API, developing APIs and interoperability across the operator spectrum. I mean, operators have had to, interoperate for years, and TCP/IP can only go so far. But I think that SASE is going to force two new areas of development in the standards and the open source community. One is around developing more standards around interoperability with security services, and two, the emerging intelligent networking and machine learning and AI efforts that are really just nascent. I just published a white paper on that topic through the LF and end user group, which has, there are SASE. I think SASE is actually mentioned in the paper as one of the areas that is driving this interest in this area. So yeah, I think the open source and standards bodies are key to driving this forward in the industry. No one vendor can do it themselves.
I don't think there's any question about that. And the only perspective I want to share is that, I've participated in standardization throughout my most of my career, and the level of complexity we're trying to deal with here is going way up as we get up the stack and we move into the security domain with many security functions and different arrangements and just different customer needs. So this is going to be a big challenge. We're just getting started. It was exciting to see that the MEF actually introduced their first security standard, the application flow security for SD-WAN standard that just got approved by the MEF. And I think that's just the beginning. So now that we are forced to wind down based on the limited timing that we have. So I just wanted to first thank the panel for their really interesting insights. I knew that this group of four would be very insightful about how they can look at SASE, how they can also address not only what their organizations are doing, but this broader industry view, which is one of the goals of this panel session. So thank each one of you for participating. I also want to thank the audience. Now we're in day 3. There have been literally dozens of presentations and panel sessions. Thank you for making it to the end of of this year's World Congress. It's always interesting to see the latest and greatest topics in open networking, and I think this event has a key role there. I'd like to invite the audience to send us your questions. Obviously, we're not going to be able to address them live. We will be able to address them, though, through email afterwards. Layer 123 can provide instructions on exactly how to submit those questions. We also invite you to view any sessions you might have missed. They're all going to be posted online. And as we head to the end of the World Congress, I think there are a few sessions behind this one. We wanted to thank you for attending, and we hope that everyone will be able to attend next year's event, the 2022 event, in the October-November timeframe, hopefully in person. I know that I miss live events. They're starting to happen, although we do all have to be very, very careful. So in the meantime, I'm going to wind down for now. Thank you again, and good day, good night, good morning, or wherever you are.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.